Hi there again everyone, this is again Allan and welcome back to my watercolor channel. Today in this video we are gonna be reviewing a watercolor brand from Germany, and this is no other than the Pelikan watercolors. I got this set at Blick.com for $30.45 or roughly 1,500 Philippine pesos. I unboxed this set the other day along with the Grumbacher Academy and the Utrecht watercolors, and if you want to check out the video, I'll be linking it here. One of the reasons why I got this set was because it reminded me of the portable painter, which is this one, because it has this very comparable style in packaging where two sort of a water reservoir holds the palette, the main palette, like this. And it's the same with this, but I did not expect the box to be this big. Anyway, let's check out the box. So this is the box. It looks very attractive and fancy because of the very vibrant blue color here, and in front you'll see the name Pelikan, the brand name, and the logo here. And this is aquarelle malcasten transparent watercolors. So here's a preview on how the palette looks like, and also you can see it here because there is an exposed part, but it has an acrylic protection here. And on this side, same information, same here also. And here it says AP, so it conforms to the ASTM D4236 standards, which is only valid for USA, and says here it's made in Germany. And here's the website, www.pelikan.com. So it says here 12 colors. So let's open our box, and it comes with these two booklets, and I think the other one is in German and the other one is in English. So let's read it. In the history of the arts, there were several golden ages of watercolor painting. So they're giving us here some classic pointers about watercolors. So it says here, very good light fastness, easily soluble in the pan, etc. You will make the fullest use of the painting techniques and coloring possibilities with Type 725. So this is the Type 725, because I remember there are other types of watercolors from Pelikan. They also have opaque set. I don't know if that's gouache, but I was interested only in the transparent, so I got this set. I think this is the full range. They have 24 colors in Pelikan watercolors, and what's interesting here is that they are able to explain the color selection just like how I review color selection. So for the 12 color set, they have enumerated here the groupings. So one yellow, so this is the one. Two reds, so that's the warm and the cold. Also for the blue, reddish, and the greenish, they have two greens, the cold and a warm. One violet, three earth colors, and one black. That is how I actually enumerate the colors whenever I react to the color selection. And here they're telling us that white is not included as a color in transparent watercolors. It is represented by the paper base. Pure white means leaving the paper untouched when painting. Broken white is well diluted paint and paper have an optically cooperative effect. It is very interesting that they're sharing these pointers, these ideals, and sort of a standard in the use of watercolors, especially transparent watercolors, wherein they're not, advising the use of white. And I've heard that 1,000 times. I don't necessarily agree all the time, but yeah, I get the point. So yeah, it's interesting. So for the 24 colors, here are the other colors in case you want to get the 24 colors. They have green oxide of chromium, matte, a broken olive shade, cobalt blue, a typical sky color, Indian red, a brownish red shade, the dark Van Dyke brown, cool paints gray, thinned lamp black against the this gives warm gray stages. For portrait and nude painting enthusiasts, you have the flesh color. Skin shades are difficult to mix with yellow, red, or brown. This initial color can easily be varied in any direction. It's cool to know that they have given the description of the colors, because this is going to be very helpful, especially to the beginners. And they also have here the other tools that you'll be needing, like watercolor brushes, 2 watercolor containers, so that's these 2 parts, and the watercolor paper. And they also have here the basic techniques of watercolor painting. You know guys, this is really very useful. Wet on wet, applying washes, glazing 1 layer. This is really cool, especially for the learners. Now let's check out our main subject, the palette itself. So it's plastic, but it feels very sturdy. And in front you'll find here the brand name and the logo of Pelikan. So let's remove the water reservoir, and I think you can attach these 2 together. So here it is. It's cool. You can use this for your clean water source and your water for rinsing and cleaning your brush. Now this is our palette, and you'll find here the mixing palette, which you can transfer here in the cover. So here now are your 12 colors. See, it's really huge. Not that I'm complaining, but I'm not sure if this is plein air friendly. But yes, I think this is usable, but it's very obvious. Yeah, this is very attractive, especially to kids, because of its size and also the shape. It's interesting how they've come up with this rainbow shaped palette. I think this is quite unique. And you can also see the color names on top of the first set of colors. So here you'll see here Blagum. So I think this is in German, but you can also, I think, remove this to reveal the English name of the color. So here is number 59A, yellow, John. So that's again another language. And for this one you have green blue, or blue green, I think. So you can interchange the colors if you want to, but I'm happy with the sequencing of these and I'm not changing it. So I was thinking if I'm gonna bring this on a plein air activity, or if I want to paint outside, I can be placing here my portable brush. You can actually place more than one because it's big. It can house, I think, 2. So I think we can now start swatching. So now I've actually removed the cover so that I can easily fit it here on the screen, and I've noticed that the pan colors are very vibrant on dry form, so I think they're gonna perform well. And also obviously they're very matte, so I think there's no honey used in here, and I hope they won't get chalky. So now for our swatches and sample painting, as usual I'm using Arches 185 cold pressed cotton paper. And for our flat brush, I have here my Royal Aqualon 2150 size 10 and my Escoda Reserva size 8. And also I'm now utilizing their cover / water container. So I think we are ready to start, and let's begin with yellow. Obviously this is very vibrant and it wets easily, but initially it looks semi-opaque, but let's see if it stays opaque. Now let's proceed to the vermilion. And I think this is transparent, but once you put more paints, of course, it gets semi-opaque. Next we have carmine, and I did not find in their website the pigment information, so we do not have any idea how light fast the colors are, although they have mentioned in their catalog or in their booklet that these paints are light fast. Next we have violet. This one is not so intense. Yeah, like a mineral violet, but it's nice. I love the shade. It reminds me of the wild orchids here in the Philippines. Next we have ultramarine. Please don't disappoint me. No, it's beautiful. And let's see if it's gonna be granulating once it dries. Next we have Russian blue, and this is also not bad. Next is blue green or green blue. So this is a phthalo green, but I think this is a lighter version. It's not very strong. Next we have yellow green, and I think some of you already know that I'm not a fan of these very flashy yellow green color. Next is yellow ochre. Of course, this is opaque. Next is burnt sienna. And this is also not very strong. And so far, I think this is the most opaque. Next is raw umber, and I've also noticed that when I added water, it became very light. I'm afraid this color is gonna be very see, it's very opaque. I'm quite not sure how to react on this color because I personally use a lot of this shade, but it does not correspond to the name raw umber, I think, unless there's another version of raw umber that I just don't know, maybe, because it looks like a raw sienna that is mixed with white. And lastly, we have lamp black, and it's interesting to see that they have here a lamp black instead of Payne's gray that we usually see in 12 color sets. And also I've noticed that it's quite staining because I have just laid the first layer, first stroke, and now I cannot easily lift it or make it even. Now, while waiting for our swatches to dry, let's now proceed to our sample painting. And to save time, I'm going to be speeding up this process, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment it below. So for the sample painting, I have decided to use only 6 colors. So they're yellow, vermilion, carmine, ultramarine, the green blue, and the burnt sienna. So let's begin. By the way, I have learned about the Pelikan brand when I saw on the internet their fountain pens and inks. And also, just like to share, I'm also into fountain pens and inks lately. And maybe I would be able to also review fountain pens and draw sketches with the use of fountain pens and also color them with watercolor. Now that the sky part or the blue part is already dry, I can now see and say that the drying shift is really very high. It has lost its vibrancy and intensity already. And also I've noticed that it's not easy to make black or dark grays using these paints. I think it's because of an extender. Now our sample painting and swatches are finally dry. We can now have a closer look. Now let's review the color selection. So they have here 1 yellow, 2 reds, 1 violet, 2 blues, 2 greens, 3 earth colors, and a black. Obviously it works because this is quite common in basic watercolor sets. Although I'd like to suggest to have another yellow, a warm yellow, to replace the yellow green here, because you can easily mix this with the yellow and the blue green, and I think that would be more friendly for those who would like to learn color mixing. Since this is called the Pelikan transparent watercolors, I was expecting higher transparency, and initially when the swatches were still wet, I was very nervous that they would end up very opaque. But the colors now are more transparent, not perfectly transparent, but better than it was wet. But I still have to note that some colors are more on the opaque side, like the yellow green, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna. They're very opaque. Also the ultramarine, which is not usually this opaque, is also opaque here. But I think in the sample painting I was able to show a bit of transparency. I think the main issue here is that some colors are not very pigmented, or they appear to be different. I think it's obvious here in blue green and yellow green. I think it should be a bit more vibrant than this. For the raw umber, it looks very pale to the point that it's now very comparable to my skin tone. Usual raw umber that we know leans towards the darker side of this. They move quite okay, not the fastest, but I think you can see how the colors evenly dispersed in this particular color, the ultramarine, and I think it worked really well for this technique. But also I'd like to note that the ultramarine does not granulate, but the burnt sienna granulates. And I've also noticed there's like a thin layer or a film of white, like powder, for the ultramarine. I'm not sure if you can see it through the screen. And also the ultramarine has the highest drying shift. I'm a bit sad about that, but for this particular sample painting it worked. So as you can see, I was only just about to make 1 layer of this, but I have made I think 3 or 4 layers for this color. I mixed the ultramarine, the carmine, and what else, the burnt sienna to achieve this very dark gray. It appears, I think, to be very dark from the video, or from the screen, but in person it looks more pale than how it appears on the screen. But if you want to achieve dark grays or blacks without using lamp black, maybe you can use, instead of ultramarine blue, the Prussian blue, because it's deeper naturally. I think it would be a better combo. So I think we're done. Oh no, I have here a sheet of napkin, and we're gonna be rubbing it against our swatches and sample painting. And if we get paints in our paper, then that means it's more of a chalky paint. So let's see. So let's check it out. I think on this side only, we already damaged the paper, but I think there are no traces of paints. I think there's just very almost unnoticeable traces of pigments that are transferred in our paper. Now we've come to our favorite part, which is the comparison portion. And for this, let's begin with the set of paints that are less performing as compared to the Pelikan transparent watercolors. So let's begin with the bottom 8. So for this, we have the Best Buy watercolors, the Symbolion watercolors, and the Dong A Creative. Also, we have the Sterling Arts watercolors, the Giorgione watercolor cakes, the Faber-Castell solid watercolors, the Sakura Koi Pocket Filled Sketchbox, and the Reeves watercolors. Now these next set are the set of paints that are, I think, very comparable with the Pelikan transparent. So let's begin with the Faber-Castell tubes. I think I prefer the Pelikan because the colors are more vibrant and are stronger. Oh, you can see here that the Prussian blue of Faber-Castell has already faded. Now we have here the Pebeo Studio watercolors. I think it's obvious that the colors of the Pelikan are cleaner. It spreads easier, but I don't know. I think I'd go with Pelikan. Now we have Pentel. Also, I think they're very comparable when it comes to the intensity and the vibrancy of colors, but the texture of Pelikan is just much better. But the Viridian, the Prussian blue are better, but this is very opaque, so I think this is a draw. Now here, I think only the Prussian blue is commendable here, so I'm choosing the Pelikan transparent. Maris are very consistent and the colors are clean, but they're very light except for some colors, so I think we can give this a draw, maybe, I'm not sure. Let's have now Maggie Wap. These two are very comparable, but I think I'd go still with the Pelikan. The colors are cleaner and more transparent. Now with Art Ranger, I think we have a competition here. I think I'd go with Art Ranger because the colors are just more punchy and they're more reliable except for the deep green here. And finally in this set, let's have the Lefranc and Bourgeois Louvre watercolors. I think I'd go with the Louvre watercolors. I think the colors are more transparent. The Pelikan colors are cleaner, but the colors of Lefranc are punchier. So I'm choosing these. Now our last set of paints are the set of paints that are, I think, performing better as compared to the Pelikan transparent watercolors. These sets are mixed of school grade paints, student grade paints, and artist grade paints. So this is just a visual comparison. Let's begin with the Perang watercolors 2019, the Perang 2007. We also have the Semi Art solid watercolors 50. We also have the Semi Arts Arch watercolors, the Semi Art Semi Dry, the Superior watercolor, the Mia Himi solid watercolors, the Superior foldable palette watercolors, the Koh-i-Noor Anilinki brilliant watercolors. We also have here the Superior fan palette, the Pretty Excellent watercolors from China, the Winsor & Newton China version. We also have the Sonnet watercolors, the Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolors, the Van Gogh 20 new colors, the Van Gogh 12+3 half pans, the Kukuyo Camelin Camel watercolors from India, the Lucas Aquarelle 1862. So we are now beginning with the artist grade paints. Now we have the Prima Marketing Tropical Set, the Mary's Masters watercolors, the Paul Rubens watercolors, and I think here it's also obvious that the Prussian blue has already faded. Compare them. And also with the Mungyo professional watercolors, the Blocks extra fine watercolors, the White Nights watercolors in tubes, also the White Nights by St. Petersburg in full pans. Also we have the Isaro extra fine watercolors, also the Rembrandt luxury pocket box set, the Winsor & Newton professional, the A. Gallo honey watercolors, handmade watercolors from Italy. We also have the Core watercolors, Holbein watercolors 30 color set, the Holbein's Botanicals 24 color set, the Mijello pure pigment 26 color set, the Mijello Mission Gold class, this is I think 36 colors, and the Daniel Smith extra fine watercolors in sticks. So now if you are gonna ask me would I recommend these Pelikan transparent watercolor set, my answer is yes. And my main reason for recommending this is this booklet. Their booklet is very considerate, especially for beginners, because I really find these basic information to be very useful. These information are of course available on the internet, but having a hard copy of these basic information is very useful to beginners. And I think this set is made for beginners because you usually find guides like this in a beginner set. And also another thing I like about these paints is the serving. The large size of the paints, it reminds me of the Carandiache gouache solid paints that I have not reviewed yet, but I have it with me. Anyway, yeah, you get a lot with these, but also you have a big palette because of that, and also you have a free water container for your cleaning and for your mixes. Now when it comes to the paint itself, it's not bad. I was actually very happy and satisfied with my output today, although I was not expecting this because I was having some challenges earlier. The colors are not bad, as I've said, and they're vibrant, and they're not the most transparent, but they're not very opaque as well. I think the main issue in this set is the price, because as you've seen, this is $30 US, and the price is twice or thrice as compared to those sets that I have considered very comparable to the Pelikan transparent watercolors. But again, most of those paints come in small tubes and a paper box container, but this one comes in a very large palette, very useful palette actually. The amount of paint that you're gonna get with this is not bad for the price, so you need to weigh the advantages. So the advantages here I think is the booklet, the palette itself, the palette that comes with the water reservoir, and also the amount of paints that you are gonna get. But of course, if you are a professional painter, I mean when you are gonna be painting for commissioned paintings or for paintings to be displayed, I would suggest you to use professional grade paints and choose your pigments very well. But if you still want to use this for professional purposes, I would first suggest you to do your own light fastness test to be sure. I know it's not Sunday yet, it's only Friday, but I've already uploaded my review. And the reason for that is because I want to speed up the reviews. I want to finish early so that I can do my light fastness test. So I think that concludes this video. Again, thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed yet, please do subscribe to show support to my channel. And again, thank you, and see you on the next video.